Something between you and this person feels different lately, even if nothing has been openly said. It's a quiet shift, the kind that shows up in small moments rather than clear explanations. You may have sensed it already in the way thoughts about them return more often, or how certain memories feel unexpectedly present again. On their side, something has been building for a while now, an inner pressure made up of words they have struggled to release. They have imagined the conversation more times than they can count, going over every possible outcome, starting it in their mind and stopping just before it becomes real. It hasn't been simple hesitation, it's been a mix of reflection, timing, and emotional uncertainty. They have tried to convince themselves that staying silent might be easier, but that choice has started to feel heavier than speaking up. Over time, distance and confusion added layers to what they feel, yet none of it truly disappeared. Instead, it settled quietly beneath everything else, waiting for a moment that felt safe enough to surface. Now, something is changing in that space. The pause they held for so long is reaching its limit, and the thoughts they kept contained are beginning to lean toward expression. What they want to share isn't casual or fleeting. It carries meaning for them, shaped by everything they have experienced in this connection so far. They are standing at a point where holding back feels more difficult than being honest, and that shift is what's bringing this moment closer. Because the truth inside them has grown too loud. Stay till the end. Because something huge is waiting for you. They have watched you from a distance in ways you never fully understood, not always physically, but emotionally. They noticed how you kept going when life became difficult. They noticed how your heart remained kind even after disappointment. They noticed the way you carried pain without letting it turn you cold. And something inside them changed, because they began to realize you were never ordinary to them. You were never just someone. You were never forgettable. You were the person who stayed in their thoughts when the room went quiet. The face they remembered during random moments of the day. The name that still created emotion in their chest when spoken aloud. And now, they can no longer hide from what they feel. There is a confession building inside them, a truth they have been waiting to deliver. Good news that has been growing stronger with every passing day. But before they speak it, understand this. They had to become sure of their heart, sure of their intentions, sure that what they feel is real and not temporary emotion, sure that what they want with you is deeper than impulse. And now, that certainty has arrived. Do you understand what that means? It means someone who once hesitated, no longer hesitates. Someone who once doubted, no longer doubts. Someone who once feared what this connection meant, now sees it clearly. They know what you are to them. And that realization has changed everything. Don't skip, because the next part matters more than you think. The good news they have been waiting to tell you is not surface level. It is not casual. It is not just, I miss you. It is deeper than that. They are preparing to tell you that their feelings for you never faded, never disappeared, never moved on the way they pretended they had, even when distance existed, even when communication changed, even when life placed obstacles between you. Their heart remained connected, and now they are ready to admit what they once denied. No one has affected me the way you do. That is the truth building inside them. Because every attempt to replace this connection failed. Every distraction felt temporary. Every other conversation lacked the depth they felt with you. And eventually, they had to face the truth. You were never just another chapter. You were the chapter that stayed open. You were the unfinished story. You were the person they kept returning to emotionally no matter how far they wandered mentally. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the message they carry is not only emotional, it is transformational. They want you to know that the version of them who once held back, who once ran from vulnerability, who once avoided honesty, is disappearing. A stronger version has emerged, a clearer version, a version finally brave enough to tell you what should have been said long ago, and when they speak, It may catch you off guard, because the truth they are carrying has become impossible for them to contain. They want more than your attention now. They want your presence, more than your messages. They want your consistency, more than your affection. They want your future. Yes. Read that again in your spirit. Their good news is not just that they love you, it is that they finally understand the depth of what this connection means, and they are preparing to move differently because of it. Their intentions are becoming serious. Their heart is becoming focused. Their emotions are becoming impossible to ignore. And soon, you may hear from them in a way you never expected. A message, a confession, a conversation, an unexpected opening. But however it arrives, it will carry emotional weight, because this is not random. This is someone who has spent countless nights thinking about what they should say to you, practicing words, imagining your reaction, wondering if the timing is right, wondering if you still feel what they feel, wondering if the door is still open. Stay till the end, because there is one final truth you need to hear. The reason they waited so long was not because they did not care. It was because what they feel for you became too important to handle carelessly. They reached a point where staying silent no longer felt possible. What once seemed uncertain is now turning into clarity, and with it comes a quiet but powerful shift in direction. Things are no longer meant to stay buried or left unsaid, because the weight of unspoken feelings has grown too heavy to carry alone. Now, there is a readiness to be open, to speak with honesty, and to step into a space where emotions are no longer held back. What they have been holding inside is not confusion anymore, but a simple truth they can no longer ignore. Despite the distance and pauses, the feeling never disappeared. It stayed present, steady, and unchanged in ways that even time couldn't weaken. There is a belief that what exists between you is not something temporary or ordinary. It has always felt different, more meaningful, and harder to let go of than expected. Even through silence, the connection continued to exist in the background, waiting for the right moment to surface again. What once felt like delay now makes more sense. The pauses, the unanswered thoughts, and the quiet moments were not empty at all. They were shaping understanding, building courage, and creating space for something more stable to form. Behind the scenes, personal struggles and inner conflicts played a part in the silence, making expression difficult even when feelings were strong. Now that pressure is easing, and with it comes the possibility of a conversation that brings everything into focus. When it finally happens, it may explain far more than words ever could, revealing why the journey unfolded the way it did, and what it was always leading toward. Do not skip this part, because what they went through explains everything. They had to confront parts of themselves they once avoided, their fears, their pride, their emotional walls, their uncertainty about whether they were truly ready for a connection this deep, because loving you, truly loving you, required more from them than they expected. You awakened something in them that could not remain half-hearted, and that terrified them at first, because this was never ordinary attraction. It was never surface-level chemistry. It was recognition, the kind of connection that makes someone realize, this person could change my life. And when people feel something that powerful, they either rise to meet it, or run from it until they are ready. Your person ran for a while, not because they wanted someone else, not because they forgot you, not because you meant less than you thought. They ran because what they felt was too real. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Every time they try to suppress their feelings, you return to their thoughts. Every time they told themselves to move on, something reminded them of you. A song, a place, a random memory, a familiar feeling they could not explain. And slowly, painfully, undeniably, they realized this connection was not fading, it was deepening. Even in silence, even in separation, even in distance. That is why the good news they carry is more powerful than simple affection. It is clarity. They finally know what they want, and what they want is you. Not a temporary moment, not inconsistent energy, not a half-finished story. You, fully, clearly, intentionally. Let that sink in, because there was a time when they could not say that with certainty. But now they see your value with eyes that are no longer confused. Now they understand what your presence truly means. Now they recognize that people like you do not come twice. Don't skip, because this next truth matters deeply. They have been planning how to approach you. Yes, planning, thinking through what they will say, how they will say it, how to explain the silence, how to explain the delay, how to explain the feelings they hid behind distance, because they know that when they come forward, words alone will not be enough. They know they must show change, show maturity, show consistency, show that they are not returning with empty emotion, but real intention. And that is exactly what they are preparing to do. This is why their message may arrive unexpectedly, when you least expect it, when you think nothing is happening, when you assume the silence means the story is over. That is when everything may shift, because some of the biggest moments in life arrive quietly first, then suddenly change everything. Something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate is not just bringing feelings. They are beginning to express what was once kept unspoken, their real feelings, their private fears, and the reasons they hesitated for so long. There is a shift happening beneath the surface, where silence is slowly turning into clarity. What they once avoided acknowledging is now pressing forward with quiet urgency. You may soon hear something that feels strangely familiar, as if your intuition had already prepared you for it. The understanding you were waiting for may finally take shape in words that confirm what your heart had already sensed. There is a sense that confusion is starting to dissolve, replaced by something steadier and more honest. This change is not random or sudden. It is the result of emotions building over time, reaching a point where they can no longer remain contained. People can delay honesty, but they cannot erase it, and what has been unspoken is becoming harder to hold back. They think of you more than they reveal, and the absence between you has carried more weight than either of you admitted. Now, the silence is beginning to feel heavier than the truth itself, and that is what often leads to change. When emotional resistance breaks, hesitation fades, and clarity takes its place. What follows feels less like surprise and more like recognition, as though something long understood is finally being confirmed in reality. Deep down, you may already feel that something is moving toward resolution, even before it fully arrives. Even now, subtle signs may already be aligning in ways you did not expect, hinting that connection is quietly moving toward resolution, and that what once felt uncertain is slowly finding its place again within you. Part of you has felt that something unfinished still exists here. Part of you has known this story was not over. Trust that feeling, because some connections are delayed, not denied. And this delay, it has been creating the version of them capable of loving you the way you deserve, not immaturely, not inconsistently, not halfway, but fully. So, hold your heart steady, because the good news they have been waiting to tell you is no longer far away. The truth is rising, the silence is breaking, the confession is nearing, and very soon, the person who once struggled to express what they felt may finally stand before you with the honesty you waited for, because your soulmate has something beautiful to tell you, and they are closer than ever to saying it. But here is what makes this moment even more powerful. Your soulmate is not only preparing to speak, they are preparing to reveal just how long they have felt this way, because what they are about to tell you may surprise you more than the confession itself. Their feelings did not begin recently. Their realization did not happen overnight. This has been building in secret, for far longer than you know. Do not skip this, because something huge is waiting for you. There were moments when they almost reached out, moments when your name sat in front of them on a screen, moments when their fingers hovered over a message they never sent. Moments when their heart screamed, "Tell them now," and fear whispered, "Wait." So, they waited. They waited through nights of overthinking. They waited through emotional battles. They waited through confusion they could not explain. But every delay only made one thing clearer. Their feelings for you were not disappearing. They were intensifying. Because distance did not weaken this connection. It revealed its depth. Anyone can feel something when a person is near. But when someone remains in your heart even in absence, that is when you know it is real. And that is the realization that changed everything for them. They now understand that losing access to you never erased their attachment to you. If anything, it made them recognize your worth more deeply. Stay till the end, because what they are realizing now is transforming their next move. They have begun replaying every memory with you, every conversation, every laugh, every emotional moment, every subtle sign they once overlooked, and suddenly, things they once brushed aside now hit them differently. They see the connection more clearly now than ever before. They understand the way your presence affected them. They understand why no one else ever felt quite the same. They understand why their heart kept circling back to you no matter what they tried. And with that realization comes urgency, because now they fear something they never feared before. The possibility of waiting too long. They fear that if they stay silent any longer, they may lose the chance they still hope for. That fear is becoming stronger than their hesitation. And when someone reaches that point, they stop observing from a distance. They stop hiding behind pride. They stop pretending there is time forever. They move. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the good news they carry is not only emotional, it is intentional. They are no longer thinking in vague feelings. They are thinking in possibilities. In thoughts about what the future could hold, something inside them begins to shift. They start imagining possibilities they once pushed away, scenarios where feelings are no longer ignored or postponed, but finally acknowledged. It reaches a point where you are not just a passing presence in their life anymore. You become someone they quietly place into their long-term vision, without fully realizing how it happened. That realization doesn't arrive loudly. It builds slowly, until it becomes impossible to dismiss. And when that awareness settles in, it naturally pushes them toward emotional movement rather than emotional avoidance. Something within them starts leaning forward, instead of holding back. You may have already felt this change without being able to explain it. A subtle difference in the emotional atmosphere. Moments when thoughts of them appear out of nowhere, or when your intuition signals that something between you is no longer static. These feelings are not random. They often surface when emotional clarity begins forming on the other side of a connection, even if it hasn't been spoken yet. As those emotions grow, the connection itself feels heavier, more present, almost like it's asking to be acknowledged. Over time, unspoken truth begins to take shape inside them. What was once avoided starts becoming unavoidable. They begin to recognize the delays, the missed chances, and the silence that filled the space between you. And with that recognition comes a quiet emotional honesty, an understanding that their hesitation had consequences they never fully considered. It was never a lack of feeling, but a lack of knowing how to express it. What begins to emerge is not just emotion, but intention, a readiness to stop letting distance speak louder than truth. The shift is no longer about what was felt in private, but about what now wants to be expressed openly. They cannot. Before this, they could distract themselves. Now, nothing works. Before this, they believed time would make the feelings fade. Now, time has only made them stronger, and that is why their confession is nearing, because eventually, truth reaches a point where it demands to be spoken, and their truth has reached that point. So prepare your heart, because the person you have wondered about, the person who remained emotionally unfinished in your story, the person who still feels tied to your spirit, may soon come forward with more honesty than you expected, not with confusion, not with mixed signals, but with clarity, with sincerity, with the good news they have carried in silence for far too long, that their feelings for you never left, their heart never forgot, and their future may still include your name. The next chapter of this story is closer than you think, and when it begins, you will understand why every unanswered moment was only building toward this confession, and when that moment finally arrives, it may begin more quietly than you expect, not with fireworks, not with dramatic noise, but with a single message, a single conversation, a single unexpected opening that changes everything. Because life's most important moments often arrive softly first, and only later do you realize they were the turning point all along. Do not skip this, because something huge is waiting for you when your soulmate finally speaks. Listen carefully, not only to their words, but to the emotion behind them, because what they will reveal has been carried in silence for longer than you know. They may tell you how many times they almost reached out, how many nights they thought about you, how often your memory interrupted their day, how many times they wondered if you still felt the connection too, and in that moment, you may realize you were never forgotten, never replaced, never as distant from their heart as silence made it seem. That realization alone may shift everything, because there is healing in finally hearing the truth you once only hoped was real. Stay till the end, because the next part matters more than you think. Your soulmate has not been waiting merely to confess feelings. They have been waiting to arrive correctly. That is what makes this different. They do not want to come to you half-ready. They do not want to offer uncertainty wrapped in emotion. They do not want to repeat old patterns. They want to approach you with seriousness, with steadiness, with the kind of energy that says, I know what I want now. And when someone reaches that point, their love begins to feel different, more mature, more intentional, more grounded, more powerful. That is the version of them moving toward you now. Not the uncertain version, not the fearful version, not the emotionally conflicted version, but the version that finally understands your value. Something huge is waiting for you, because the good news they carry may include words you once thought you would never hear. Words like, I was wrong to stay silent. I should have been honest sooner. I never stopped caring. I still feel this deeply. I want to see where this can go. And if those words arrive, they will not be random. They will be the result of everything they have endured internally to become brave enough to speak. Do not underestimate what it takes for someone to confront their own heart fully, especially when the truth is life-changing. Don't skip, because this final truth may be the most important of all. The reason this connection has remained so alive is because it was never superficial. It touched something deeper. It reached a place in both of you that ordinary connections never reach. That is why forgetting was never simple. Some connections leave a lasting imprint, the kind that doesn't fade just because time passes or distance grows. What you once shared wasn't something easily replaced, and even moments of silence never fully managed to erase it. Certain people don't simply come and go. They arrive in your life carrying meaning, sometimes to teach, sometimes to reshape the direction you were heading in, and sometimes to stay in your thoughts long after everything has changed. It seems the person you're thinking of has come to recognize that difference. You are not just a memory tucked away in the past for them, nor are you something they can neatly label as what might have been. Instead, you remain present in their thoughts in a way that feels unresolved, like a question they never stopped carrying. Even now, there's a pull they can't easily ignore, a sense that something important was left unfinished between you. When emotions linger like this, they often surface in quiet ways before anything is ever spoken aloud. You might have already felt that subtle shift, that sense of emotional movement or unfinished energy returning to the surface. Sometimes intuition notices these changes long before reality confirms them, and in this case, what seems to be unfolding is the return of honesty, feelings being re-examined, truths being gathered after a long silence, and the weight of unspoken words finally finding direction. What comes next may not be simple or perfectly formed, but it carries significance because it reflects what was never fully expressed before. If communication does return, it may bring clarity that had been missing for a long time, offering a chance to understand what this connection truly meant to both sides.